I don't do a lot of talking when I do poetry. I'm just gonna take y'all on a journey. Do y'all trust me?
Yes.
Let's do it. I ain't never met a mic that I couldn't bless. Strategically moving my words across the page like chess. Caress nouns and verbs so intimately, you would swear they were having sex. Don't guess and don't try to assess, yes, I'm just that confident. If you tried to condense my gift, you would insult me. If I gave you the keys to the literary bank, you still couldn't rob me. I know some of y'all poets think I'm a little bit cocky. The eye of the tiger consider me the poetic Rocky. You've been dealing with poets whose rhymes are a little bit sloppy. Like bird watching and stamp collecting, for them, this is a hobby. Something they do just to pass the time. Writing Crayola and pen Dr. Seuss rhymes, and while your ink wastes time, brothers in the pen are waiting on you to pen a line about how hard it is to do federal time. Sisters waiting on you to write about a welfare line. A young girl is tired of being her daddy's whore while mother looks in the other direction. A young brother needs to know that life ain't about the stiffness of his erection. You see, every life has a story, so they are waiting on you to up your game and right beyond. Roses are red and violets are blue, and while I'm at it, to all you pussy poets, I don't really care how many poetic groupies you screw and groupies. I don't really care how many conjugating poets you gave it up to. When it comes to playing games with poetry, I've been through. You got poets who are truly blessed with a gift who can't spit because you got your name on the list to step to this mic and regurgitate the same old shit. And that bullshit is what you call craftsmanship. For those that dig poetry, they deserve a little bit more. Step up your poetic rapport. Like Martha Stewart, I set the decor. This is a battlefield, and if you didn't know, we are at war. Does it really take that much work to flip a metaphor? Nah, I can do that in my sleep. Half these words crying so much you can actually see verbs weep. But like my boy Word said, I don't do this for spoken word sheep. While y'all sleep, I creep. Cause souls are hungry and on my words they feed. And this knowledge they ingest and let it digest. For those that regress, move out the way for those that progress. This here is poetry. This here is my life. And every day I write like my life is on the line. If writing poetry was a crime, then take me to trial. If I couldn't write, then consider me DOA, dead on arrival. Every day I write because this is my means of survival. This here is not a joke. Every time I lay pen to paper, the parchment smokes. And for those poets who ain't worthy of my gift, they choke. Your pause, you poetry pretenders, and clear your throat. When I bless this mic, I'm gonna leave it in a better condition because I'm on a mission. And for those real poets, those true poets that's really been listening, they understand exactly where I'm coming from. And for those fake in front of ego tripping, Starbucks sipping wannabe poets, anytime you think you ready, come get some. I done already passed this poetry test cause I wrote it. This here was the truth cause I spoke it. And nah, Josh, I didn't just blaze your mic, I smoked it. Not smoking, it ain't warmed up. Formation. Said firmly with no hesitation. Concern for your tears, recently went on vacation. We are unbothered by your hating and your condemnation. It is simply confirmation and the very reason we're celebrating. This is the manifestation of a bloodline that birthed a nation. We ain't offspring, we're the foundation of creation. When you sip from Mother Earth, you're drinking our libations. This is lyrical liberation. You want to be mad at something? Be mad at the blood on the hands of this nation. This is the reincarnation of a spirit that has no expiration. This is old Negro spiritual salvation. That down south church fan waving congregation. This is B's Black Fist and an own rock nation. But since you seem to need some clarification, this is for 40 acres and a mule reparations. For picking cotton in fields for no compensation. For not telling slaves about emancipation. For Rosa being told to get in the back of your transportation. For Sarah Bartman's humiliation at the hands of your exploitation. This is for co-opting a culture with weak imitations. For Martin and Malcolm's assassinations. For countless years of segregation. For every time you told our sisters and brothers to assume the formation. For keeping them locked in a system chained to probation. For a racist system masquerading as fair administration. This is for Sandra Bland dead on the floor of a police station, for smallpox infestation. This is for Tuskegee experimentation, for telling us why all lives matter with no qualifications. This is for brutally raping a nation, for Eric Garner's suffocation. This is for a black male shot dead at Fruitville Station. And this voice is the reincarnation of everyone you murder with no justification. Now you bow down and simply assume the formation. Have a sip of water, but before I do that, I would like to call up Murphy Lamb.
You better play that shit, Murphy.
Murphy and I just met.
Murphy, look nervous.
You got me, I got you. Why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't never gon' fly. Why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't never gon' fly. 'Cause your mama's name was Lonely, and your daddy's name was Pain, and they call you Little Sorrow, 'cause you'll never love again. So why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't never gon' fly. I love me. The words are trapped in my mouth as I see my reflection. I choke on the thought that I could actually love myself, that I could speak those words out loud and birth them into the universe, that I could conjure up the belief that I am lovable and let I love me flow from my lips. The words are like thick paste swirling over my tongue, the thought hard to swallow and even harder to regurgitate and say, I love me. So I mouth them slowly, watch my lips form the words, almost afraid to look at my reflection in the mirror. It is wrong to love me. I've convinced myself because my life has been tainted that loving me is not an option. You see, I have self-love stolen from me in an instance when I thought I could love. So instead of loving me, I hated me. And my mind constantly reminded me that I was unworthy of self-love. Because who could ever love me when I reeked of self-hate which permeated my inner self? And the stench of my hungover past, it oozed from my pores like leprosy and infected anyone that came near me with my inner negativity, yet I whisper them, I love me. And still my conscience is not so convinced or even mildly persuaded. How could I believe that I was lovable when my soul bore graffiti like a New York subway with words unmentionable? And the question rings out again, do you love yourself? The question clouded by memories that I fought to forget, yet they hover over my conscience, reminding me that I am unworthy of self-love. So I attempt to meet the question with more deceit. You see, lying to myself is sadly commonplace. The outward mask of who I am once concealed my fear and my pain and my frustration. I lied to myself for so long that for a brief second, I believed those lies and could not face the truth of my self-sabotaging behavior. As I look beyond my exterior and gaze into my interior, I can no longer conceal my truth. I do not recognize this decoy staring back at me. She is my social doppelganger. The woman that smiles and pretends that in her outward beauty she is confident, but inwardly, she and I know she is broken. I cannot lie to her because her eyes are my eyes and she is on display. Surface attributes faded away. There are no adornments here. Broken, discouraged, confused, lonely, raw, open, honest, just me in my reflection. So I say them out loud. I love me. The words foreign to my ears, a voice of strength, encourage, a voice I do not recognize. I am lovable. You are lovable, Hannah. And I fight, and I fight, and I fight daily through the tears to believe that I am worthy of loving myself. Disregarding the tears that fall silently on my face because in one word, acceptance, I can see that I am lovable. Allowing acceptance of my imperfections, knowing that imperfections makes life interesting, makes life worth living, makes life worth loving, makes me worth loving. I am lovable. Recognizing that no one can love me better than I love myself, because I've been given beauty for my bruises, that my pain was to reveal my divine purpose, that my storms only allowed my destiny to be irrigated into fruition, that the scars that crisscross and form calluses over my soul were only to make me stronger. My flaws are a sign of triumph, my pain now a symbol of victory. Do you love yourself? This time, the answer is not shadowed by lies, but spotlighted by the truth. Yes, I do. So I shout them. I love me. Okay, I have one more piece, then I will introduce the finale. Right? You ready? Okay, so y'all probably have heard this piece. I'm gonna do it probably till I'm in the grave. It is what it is. Everybody gotta have hits, right? This is one of the damn hits. That's top 10. All of them ain't hits. This one's a hit. It is difficult to stand in spaces. You like that already, huh? Let me start again. It is difficult to stand in spaces. Spaces that were not designed for me. Spaces that were not created for people that look like me. Spaces that scream, you do not belong here. Spaces that feel like sandpaper against my blackness, coarse and rough and painful and uneasy. Spaces that are void of signs, but still I can see them hanging in a not so distant memory. Signs that separated water fountains and restaurants, blatantly reminding people that these spaces were not made for them. And although the signs no longer remain, the architecture and atmosphere is constructed in such a way that I know and we know that these are not our spaces. We are simply standing in borrowed time to entertain the master's masses. It is difficult to stand in these spaces and be me, fully me. Code switching my vernacular to make you feel comfortable. Why must my life dress itself up in discomfort for you to feel at ease? Why must my hair look a certain way in these spaces? Why is my gender an issue in these spaces? Why does my skin feel so heavy in these spaces? You see, these are spaces I no longer want to reside in. I do not enjoy being in these spaces. I no longer want to subject myself to these spaces, but then I am reminded as I stand in these spaces and I see the faces of these two little black girls watching me perform in awe, because I'm a woman with skin that looks like them and hair that looks like theirs and lips that look like they're standing in these spaces. Spaces that have been designed in ways that are spoken to them at an early age, reminding them, baby, some spaces just ain't for your kind. You see that? It's why I'm in these spaces, being a shout in these spaces. It is for every black person that has ever entered a room and wondered, would anyone look like them in these spaces? It is for every woman that has stood at the head of a boardroom table wondering, would she be considered equal in these spaces? It is for every LGBTQ+ person that wonder could they safely be themselves in these spaces. It is for every Muslim woman that has wondered could she wear her hijab in these spaces. You see, I remember those that stood in spaces not made for them, that marched on roads not paved for them, that sat down on seats in buses not earmarked for them, that sat down at counters and endured the humiliation of sitting in spaces so that one day I too could stand in these spaces. You see, that is why I'm in these spaces. It is for everyone that came before me, that sipped water at the colored only fountain, that marched into integrated schools and knew that they would be just one of 9. It is for every black performer that stood on stages so one day little black kids like the kids that we just saw could know that they too could stand on these stages. You see, it is for my mother that stood in the space of a cotton field picking cotton for 80 cents a day. It is for everyone that will come after me, for them to know that they have a right to be in these spaces, to have a seat at the table in these spaces, to have a voice in these spaces, to have influence in these spaces. You see, that is why I stand in these spaces even when it makes me uncomfortable.
Yes.
And now some of you sit looking at me and now you feel uncomfortable. But today you have heard me. You cannot unsee me. In this space, I belong. In this space, we are here and we belong here in this space.
Come on.
Thank you.